tonight. Thanks for showing up. This is our annual meeting for 2022. This meeting is initially the first part of it is strictly by the bylaws that we have requiring this meeting. And essentially, we'll follow that format. We have the election process going on simultaneously as part of this agenda. It's a light crowd. I'm a little surprised, but we anticipate it might be maybe twice as many as are here. But thank you all for being here. As you know, the last couple of years we haven't had any public or haven't had an annual meeting because of COVID. And even today, we can't, facility-wise, we aren't allowed to use any of the JCPS facilities like the Front Creek Auditorium would be great, but they won't let anybody in. So that makes it a little difficult. It's probably absolutely not necessary, but I'm supposed to appoint a sergeant at arms. So for that, Mr. Joe Swinehart will be the guy that will raise his hand if we need to stop and take a pause and decide if we continue. So got that out of the way. A lot of you all, we've got a lot of turnover in the neighborhood. Not everybody knows everybody that's on the board right now, but seven elected board members, and I'm Bob Thompson, I'm the president. This is Joe Schutz, he's our treasurer. Brad Dudley. I always mess up because of his email address. He's on Pebble, but I've got him in as Brad Pebble. Anyway, sorry. And the insurance is vice president. Ron Huff is a board member at large. He handles all the architectural requests and many other things. We had one board member who moved. Her timing may not be the best for her. She moved to Florida, and she moved to Tampa, so she was a little lucky. But anyway, Brenda Mills has been nominated and filled in for that vacancy for the last few weeks, and of course that position is up on the ballot, and she's not able to be on the ballot, so she's here just temporarily supporting us. And Mr. Joe Swinehart, we already introduced him. He's a member at large, and he's our sergeant at arms. I will say this, we're all volunteers, and honestly, we've got a really good group of people on this board right now. Everybody's supporting the community. It takes a lot of effort, and this group has worked well together, so it's really appreciated. Okay, let's get on to the election. We have four positions. We alternate 1 year 4 positions, the next year 3 positions. This is the year for 4 positions. And we have to appoint an election chairperson, and that's been done again this year. And I never mention her name anymore. After several years in a row, we had issues with people harassing the election chairperson. So it's someone in good standing that has done an honest job. And we'll not mention her. She's not. I don't think she's here. That person is getting all the election proxies, unless, of course, any of you brought your proxy here tonight. That's fine. You can give those to Sharon Dreher, and she will get those delivered to the election chairperson. All residents got the election packets and the proxies and the candidate bios, and hopefully you read those and hopefully you voted. Interestingly, we did not get any additional bios, surprising, and that's somewhat concerning. If you brought your bio in tonight and you want to nominate anyone else other than those candidates that were already nominated themselves, you're welcome to write that name in and include it on the proxy. Hopefully that's what everybody else did with the mail-ins. That's what we asked for. The cutoff date on the mail-ins is this Friday, the 7th. And as soon as those are all taken out of the P.O. box that we assigned, the count will be finished and the results will be published. What we did, and it actually has worked out. We tried like 4 or 5 different ways to conduct an election. We used the Jefferson County Board of Elections. We used all kinds of different ways. We used a accounting firm 2 different years, and we used a couple of CPAs a couple of years, and It's a very strange reaction. A couple of places told us they'd never work with us on election again because of the problems that this community created, which is kind of embarrassing that it happened. So we will post the election results and all the proxy numbers. Everybody's name will be anonymous, but will be posted. If anybody wants to double check or count, it's fine. But that's a simple and accurate and reliable way as we know of doing it. And we have to be a little cautious always of our cost as we'll get into. We don't have high dues and we don't have high costs where we can control them. But there are some areas we can't control it. We've been suffering financially, so that's another advantage of the way we're handling this this election process. One of the requirements is that we have a record of proof that we actually had this meeting, and that document was actually mailed with the election packets, and it's posted on the website as well. So that should suffice for that requirement. Let's see. The next step we're supposed to go through, we'll get all these out of the way, and at the end we'll have an opportunity for you all to ask questions. That hopefully we won't use up all the time. We'll try not to. We are required to, before we post the minutes from last year, we're supposed to read those into this meeting record, and the board has to vote and approve. Or if anybody has questions, or we have questions, we'll address those. So the board all gets copies of those, and Brenda's going to read those, and then hopefully our secretary, we won't be able to get with her tonight. She's the one that moved to Florida. So, all right, Brenda, if you read those minutes, thank you.
This is when I wish I had James Earl Jones' voice. Okay, so the reading of the minutes, the meeting was held on October 12th, 2021 via Zoom. The time was at 7 p.m. All board members were present. There was a call to order. Bob called the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. He reminded everyone that we did not have a meeting last year because of the pandemic. Bob said this was a board meeting that is for lot owners of Glenmary only. We are recording the meeting. However, if anyone else is recording the meeting, they do not have permission to do that. The meeting will be placed on the website for residents to watch in the members only section. Bob welcomed all to the meeting and welcomed new residents to Glenmary. We are doing this through Zoom because we could not find a place that would hold the number of people we needed because of the current COVID situation. We normally have this at the Fern Creek High School, and the Louisville schools are not allowing any outside groups in their building at this time. We tried some other avenues, but cost was a huge factor. Bob said that Glenmary is a deed-restricted community, and we are all expected to abide by the deed restrictions. On the subject of quorum, Bob explained that quorum is whoever attends and the number who vote in the annual election also makes up the quorum for the election. There is not a set number for those two. The HOA 7 Board of Directors' purpose is to supply day-to-day support of the operation of the community as laid out in our governing documents. Bob said because of the pandemic, we mailed all the election proxies. We have 3 board positions available this year. The incumbents are Brad Dudley, Ron Huff, and Joe Schweinhardt? Schweinhardt, sorry. The new candidates are Sean Adams, Christy Stoss, and Miranda Breda. All proxies are to be postmarked by Friday, October 15th. We're required to appoint an election chairperson and to hold the election with integrity. What we have done is appoint an election chairperson who is the only person with a key to the P.O. box and the only one who sees the proxies once they are mailed in. There is an Excel spreadsheet that is maintained by the election chairperson. We do not have access to any of the proxies. In the end, the election chairperson will give the report with the totals. For your verification, keep a copy of your proxy or the number on your proxy, and that will let you know that your vote has been counted correctly. We will not be announcing who the election chairperson is. In the past, the person who have counted the proxies has been harassed so bad that even a large accounting firm in Louisville told us that they would not do our elections again because of the harassment their employees received by the residents of Glen Mary. We have tried several different methods, and so for now, in order to protect that person, we will not announce who that person is. Bob said we have an affidavit that shows the process of communication for announcing the meeting. This will be posted along with the minutes to the meeting. The meeting was posted on the website on September 27th, and an email was sent out to all residents on that day also. There was a notice in the mailing with the proxies. There were also signs put at all 3 entrances. Evelyn read the minutes to the annual meeting in 2019 since there was no meeting in 2020. Bob had a couple of corrections to the minutes, and those corrections will be included in the minutes for the meeting. Sharon made a motion to accept the minutes and read and corrected. Ron seconded the motion, and the vote was approved as unanimous. Sharon made a motion to accept the election chairperson, and Evelyn seconded the motion. The vote was unanimous to accept the election chairperson. Then we went on to officer reports. The president gave a report. The community is doing well, and homes are selling, and property values are increasing. Most people are doing very well in maintaining their residence and following the deed restrictions. We have faced a lot of challenges between the pandemic and the golf course. We have had numerous architectural requests, but also some deed restriction issues and some delinquent accounts we're making progress on. We are financially solvent. There have been 14 lots in the estate section that have been sold. We also have a challenge with Ball Homes wanting to connect to Glen Mary roads on the Long Home property. This is now up to 104 homes. Snow weather last winter provided some difficulties. Regarding the snow and ice, the roads in Glen Mary are county roads, but the HOA does take care of snow removal when we can. It is impossible due to cost to remove all the snow and ice on the mileage we have, but we want to make it safe and passable. We spent $42,000 on snow removal last year. We have to be careful to use the funds responsibly. The treasurer gave a report. Joe Schutz addressed third quarter statements. Total income for the year has been $273,000. Budget was $263,000. This is due to some collection of some delinquent accounts. Expenses were $228,000 through the third quarter. Budgeted was $207,000. Snow removal was the majority of that amount. Irrigation repairs were also up this year. Dobson Lane legal fees were also up. We have about $127,000 in our rainy day fund. The financial statements are posted on the website quarterly. If there are any questions, email the board and it will be addressed by Joe. Then there were committee reports. Our architectural requests were read from Evelyn. Landscaping requests were read by Joe. And then those are all on the website, so I'm not going to go into detail with those because it's just a summary. Communication. Bob asked that residents use the website to notify the board of issues that need to be addressed, so we have a record and can resolve them. There is a continuing problem with the use of a Facebook page that is used to spread a lot of miscommunication. It has gotten out of hand. If you have an issue, make sure you address the board through the website. It is the only official website for the Glen Mary HOA. Deed restriction violations were reviewed. Notations are sent to the residents when a complaint is received. Bob said there's a drive-through at least once a week to follow up. He is asking that if you report something, be sure to include a picture. Pictures now have a date and time stamp included along with the GPS location. We need that to make sure we are accurate. There are some residents who are unhappy with the deed restrictions and feel they should be ignored. There is a process where you can change a deed restriction if it is serious enough. It is important to maintain these as they are key to keeping the community in top shape and keep property values high. Top issues are parking on the street, neglecting to maintain property, trailers and commercial vehicles parked on the property, and changes without architectural approval. Old business was reviewed. If you look at expanded agenda, you'll see that. Dobson Lane was discussed. That was in the expanded agenda. New business was the golf property future. Again, that was in the agenda report. And then Bob asked for questions. There's a bunch of questions. We're not going to go over those. Will be posted.
Okay. All right, I didn't catch anything in that summary that was inaccurate. So we need a motion to accept unless somebody else has comments or questions. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor on this board of accepting these as read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7-0. Okay, good. That wasn't as painful as it could have been. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for the election chairperson.
Oh yeah, officially we're supposed to make a motion in this meeting for acceptance of the election chairperson. That we will maintain that as nameless, but will you want to make a motion?
I want to make a motion for an
Okay.
election chairperson.
Okay, Sharon's made a motion to elect or approve the appointed election chairperson. We need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor of that person, we all know who it is, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's 7-0 approval. That's just procedural, we're supposed to do that, so, thank you. Okay, I'll try to keep this, I was supposed to go through given overall state of the union for Glenmary. You could go on a little while about this one, but Glenmary continues to be a great place to live, and if you don't believe that, you probably ought to consider moving. But by the home sales that we've seen, and by the prices that we've seen, all of us know that you get a lot of value in our subdivision for the money. And if you don't believe that, go look at your home and go shop over on just a little east of here, and you'll see immediately 100, 200, 300, except way up. I mean, my son sold the house here 3 years ago, about dead even with my home, and it was $300,000 more. I wouldn't have traded homes. So that continues to be a really good point about our neighborhood. And the fact that we have done a pretty good job of maintaining the deed restrictions in this community are proving to be of value. So that's obvious in the sales. A couple of our concerns, one of our biggest concerns is with, our community's, 1990 was a home run, so it's getting up there, it's 30 years old. We have a lot of people who don't have any interest in the community, they don't want to know anything about the deed restrictions, or don't have any involvement in the support of the board. That's a problem. It's okay if we're just talking about minor things, but this concern is significant enough that if we lose a board, completely lose our board, or if we lose support of our board, this community will fall apart. I'm telling you. And once it does, it's going to be. And we're teetering close to that right now, because we asked for nominations and we got none. So it's a concern, and I will admit, in the recent 3-4 years, it's taken a lot of effort to be on this board. It really has. And believe me, I put a lot of time and effort into this, and it was a whole lot to ask of volunteers. But where we are currently, it's manageable. I guess regarding that same point of continuing support of your community, one of the biggest concerns is where we're going with the golf property. That episode's not over with yet. You all know that. And an example of the kind of challenges that we face, on the Dobson Lane development that we had on the table. I'll get into more detail on that, but we did everything we could do to affect the outcome of that, and essentially got an unfavorable decision on that. So we're going to have traffic and development connecting to our Glenmary roads. We'll get more into that in a minute. Let's move on to the Joe will get into the financial summary, but we had a tough year financially. we had, of course, the tornado hit us, and then we had inflation, and we had the pandemic, and then legal fees regarding the golf property and regarding the Johnson Lane, and dues, delinquent accounts collections. We shouldn't have to be spending money on that, but we made progress on that. Had we not had the small dues increase that we had last year, we'd be negative right now. So that's how close we were. We were very careful not to waste any funds. So with that, let's let Mr. Joe Schutz go through commentary on the budget and financial report. So we'll get into that.
Thanks, Bob. And my commentary won't be a whole lot different than the major points you pointed out, but I think what I'd say before I get into some of the numbers is we did have three, I'd say, significant events this year that we wouldn't normally be expecting. I know it's been a while since we've had a tornado here, but I certainly did not budget for that. And then we had AT&T come in, and they brought in fiber, which is awesome. But they also did some damage to some irrigation systems that we have in place on our property, and some of the homeowners have gone through this already. AT&T, I think, for the homeowners, pretty much have been very good about paying for whatever they damaged. They haven't treated us exactly like that yet, but we're going to get there. And the stone entrance, we had let's say it didn't stand up to a car, right?
The long home.
Yeah, the long home entrance was knocked down by a traffic accident. But 2 out of the 3 events, I think we've been able to, with some diligence, and actually part of the tornado problem that we've had, we've been able to address that pretty well. And I think will be minimally impacted overall by the end of the year. The tornado portion, we spent $13,000 on removing trees that were in our green spaces and could cause, not only were they unsightly, but some of them were dangerous. And so we had to spend that. We're going to replant those trees and as best we can. So that's going to be some cost, probably in the neighborhood of about another 10 grand. So as you can see, the tornado has been pretty expensive just for the association. We'll probably go ahead and do the trees, as Ron, he might mention this too, just because it is fall, it's the best time of year to be doing that type of renovation, even though we would prefer to wait another year to do it. It's something that needs to be done. So I just spent a couple of minutes talking about the overall. I think you all had some numbers that came out with your ballots that were maybe through maybe August. These are the numbers I'm going to quote are through September. We'll finalize these pretty soon. We'll publish the third quarter results on the website here very soon. But the revenue so far this year, $311,000 to our budget of $308,000. So we're a little bit ahead of that. We should see a little bit more trickle in on some late fee collections and some delinquent collections. And so we came out pretty good on that end of it. Overall expenses this year so far through September, we are at $254,000 compared to $228,000 last year. So like I said, it was a good thing that we did increase dues. We've needed every penny of it. And that's compared to obviously a budget that we budgeted for 380. We always zero budget in the association. The net right now, we've got $57,000 to spend for the rest of the year. Pardon me. And I anticipate, based on what I know today, that we're going to be pretty close to break even, based on obviously assuming a few things, but we're going to be break even, maybe $3,000 over. It is possible, depending on what happens with legal fees, if we have some more snow and ice. Right now, I'm counting on no more snow or ice through December. Hopefully, it won't be till January, which is typically when we see that. But those things could have an impact. And if we do decide to do the planting of the trees and do some more landscaping, we could have to dip in a little bit more into our reserves. Our reserves at the end of last year were $60,000. So we do have that, and we are reasonably, based upon the last 2 years have been really tough, in pretty decent shape, because we do still have $60,000 in reserve. The biggest expense is, once again, legal fees. We had Dobson Lane to continue working on this year. Hal, are you going to talk some more about Dobson Lane issue? Okay. And that's pretty much wrapped up. So we are probably done with the legal fees on that end. We still anticipate a few things coming up at the end of the year that I've built in to that figure that we'll need for some more golf course property type stuff that we'll need some assistance on. I think that's probably about it. The irrigation repairs that we're waiting on AT&T to reimburse us on, it was about $5,000. I'm anticipating we're going to get somewhere near that. And then on the stone entrance, that's going to cost us about $15,000 to fix. We went ahead and started that process in anticipation of getting the money back from the insurance company. It's dicey on exactly how much we're going to get back. The lady who caused all the problems also totaled someone else's car, and there were some medical bills, and the lady only had $25,000 in insurance. So it's going to be, we're not going to get $25,000 or even probably $15,000, but we're hoping to get half that, and or at least half of the money to do it. So, and Ron may talk a little bit more about that because he's been working on that project. I think that's all I have, Bob, for right now. I can take some questions if anybody have any.
The only comment I was going to make on the budget, one of the things that Joe mentioned, we run a balanced budget, and at all costs we try to avoid having to do an assessment, a special assessment. And as far as I know, I've only seen one special assessment since I've been in the neighborhood. I've been in it for 29 years now, so I think that's pretty good, and it's quite an accomplishment. Okay, we're here to get through these summaries. Brendan is going to just give a summary of the motions that we've covered. I guess since the last meeting, we did have a meeting, I forgot, that was in June, I think. Yeah, okay.
So I don't need to go over anything prior to June?
No.
Okay.
We've already covered those.
Okay. So the motions that we had to approve general request were on August 2nd, there was a motion to approve myself as a replacement for the board position of secretary. Motion was passed 6-1 with one not voting. On August 11th, there was a motion to approve payment for the July legal fees invoices in the amount of $2,742. That was approved by a vote of 7. On August 17th, there was a motion to approve payment of invoices in the amounts of, well, there were 4 for the greenscape invoices to repair the irrigation. That was passed with a vote of 7. On September 4th, there was a motion to approve the payment of August legal fees. The invoices were in the amount of $2,469.50. That was approved with a vote of 7. Those motions have to be voted on each time because of the budget. Once you go over the budget, you have to vote, the board has to agree to vote on all of them. And that's all that I have. So the rest are the architectural.
Ron Hunt will address the architectural request, probably in summary format. We've had a lot.
Okay, since the last meeting, we had on 7/9/22, motion to approve addition, fourth edition, 7719 Hall Farm Drive, motion passed 7-0. On 7/27, a motion to approve addition of patio, pergola, and landscaping at 10530 Glenmary Farm Drive, motion passed 6 yes and 1 not voted. On 8/13/22, excuse me, motion to approve architectural request, add covered deck on the rear of the home at 10611 Fairmont Falls Way, or Fairmont, yeah, it should be Fairmont Falls Way, motion passed 7-0. 8/16/22, request the types of driveways allowed was reviewed and the homeowner was advised to review the deed restrictions and specs. That did not go to a vote because there was nothing to vote on because it wasn't presented properly, didn't have enough details. 8/19/22, motion to approve architectural request to replace a swing set 8002 Hall Farm Drive, motion was passed 7-0. 8/23/22, request denied for shed at 8011 Kendrick Crossing due to deed restriction violation. It was against the deed restrictions. 8/25/22, motion to approve architectural request to add a lower dog fence at 7703 Hermits Run Road, motion approved 7-0. I think that was meant to be underground dog fence.
No, it was an addition. It was a lower.
Oh, that's right, it was, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It was a lower fence, attached to their current fence, so the dog couldn't go through it. Now I remember. 8/31/22, motion to approve an architectural request to add a pool at 7904 Hall Court, motion approved 6 yes votes and 1 not voting. 9/22/22, motion to approve architectural request to add roof to an existing deck pergola at 7904 Hall Court, motion approved 7-0. That's all.
Okay, next item is the maintenance report. I'll just hand this back to you.
Okay, most of you know we lost a lot of trees and stuff on the berm. We got those removed. We will have greenscapes put them in. I know the board's had some questions, but they're gonna go ahead and put them in this month. All the trees that were taken out on the berm and our islands that we had damaged are gonna be replaced. We got an estimate from greenscapes and the board has had questions about the financing, but Greenscapes has agreed if we go ahead and put them in, they won't invoice us till January. So I'm pretty sure the board's gonna approve that. At least I hope they have. They are already told Greenscapes to replace them. Since we're not gonna get invoiced till January, because we need to get them in the fall. That's the best time to replace trees. Don't wanna do it in the spring if you don't have to, because it gets too hot and they usually die. What was the other? Oh, the entrance. The entrance on Long Home Road that was damaged by the accident, Greenscapes, the bid was given to Greenscapes, and they have ordered the stone to replace the stone. They should be digging out the foundation and replacing that. That did about $17,000 worth of damage to that stone wall. They got to dig out the foundation because it actually cracked the foundation, and there's questions if we didn't replace the foundation that the stone wall would crack once put up. So we're gonna have it dug out and everything replaced. That should happen. I've been told by Greenscapes that the stone, he's ordered the stone, and it should be in about 3 weeks, and they're going to get on it after that. We're also going to be replacing this fall the islands, redoing the islands at Rock Moss Court, and I forgot what the other one was. I can't remember. There's 2 islands that were pretty bad shape that are going to be redone. And also, we found out after the lots were sold, let me back up on the estate section with the waterfall. When Nickley's owned that, we assumed he put that feature in, that whole entrance there. And we assumed that that was going to be a common area. And when he sold that lot, and that lot now belongs to the new developer. It does not belong to Glen Mary where that water feature is. So we don't own that, and legally we can't maintain that. We found out we found this out after the pump went out. We were looking to replace some of the pumps because that waterfall or that water feature, every year we have problems with the pump. Well, when we found out from the new developer that has it that he plans to build a house on that lot, we've asked for them to deed us off that section, and he's not agreed to deed that off, and we can't maintain it legally. And with liability, we would be liable, our people would be liable. We don't have any insurance if somebody gets hurt on that property. And so we're not allowed to maintain it at this point. It's still up in the air, but the developer plans to build on that lot. And he says, well, you can still maintain it, but if we don't own it, we can't legally maintain it, because if we're maintaining it and somebody gets hurt, the homeowner gets sued because he owns the property. This is going to be a problem. So we're still unsure what's going to happen with that feature. If the developer will deed that over to us, at least where the water feature is and what we actually maintain, but right now we don't own it. Yeah, that's true. If somebody builds a house on it and don't like it, they can tear it down. There's nothing we can do about it because they own the property. So right now we're trying to get that cleared up.
We haven't gone back one last time on that water feature. We can ask officially one more time if we can be deeded over that property, and we should do that. And that would clear everything up. But we need to do that. But there is an easement running east-west on that property boundary. It's a utilities easement, and then there's a north-south easement as well. Same utilities easement runs along the street there. So we will do that if we. I think it'd be negligent not to ask. But when you look at it, that water feature takes probably 25% of that lot. It's a big chunk off that lot. And so I don't know. I don't know if anybody would ever buy it. I don't think the builder is gonna let us, I mean, we'll talk to him about it. You know, it's up to him. We have no control over that one.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
The builder says that that's a landscaping easement, and it belongs to the homeowners association.
Well, we'll ask him, and if he'll put that in writing, what he said to us
They're
was,
not in writing, I mean.
The survey doesn't show
survey
that.
didn't show it, and, you know,
Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, I've got the plat
well,
drawing.
there's no title, we have no title to it at all.
I'll send you the plat drawing.
Do it, send it.
Yeah, I've got a picture of the plat, man. It shows the features, it's got all the dimensions, location, everything, but it's not ours.
It's
And
not deeded to
If it
us.
is deeded, if we can get it deeded to us, I'm good to
I'm
go.
sure it's not a deed.
But, yeah,
It's listed on the plat drawing as a landscape.
yeah, it is, I see it on there, but we don't own it. But that's, absolutely, I'm with you. I mean, it's a beautiful picture, I like it.
I think that was a bait and switch by Nick Lee's development when they developed it. They didn't, whether they intended to deed it to us at some point and then didn't, we don't own that property.
The builder has responded, Brad, as it belongs to us, it's not how it belongs to him.
Yeah, if he'll,
If he
Work
can
with
show
us,
us the
we're good to
survey
go.
and the deed book and page number that we own it, then
or we'll take the process and do it, Tom, either way. I
Yeah.
understand. We agree with you, it's just where we are, we don't own it.
I never heard it. It's the same with the berm or anything else, I guess. That's what he's considering. You know?
well, the state.
No, it's not that.
the-
No, not the big berm. I'm just talking about a berm like on turnarounds and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about.
Well, let's
Okay.
keep this open, because nobody on the board disagrees that it's a beautiful picture. None of us are against it. We just found out we didn't have title to the property, and we got a $3,000 bill.
Where did you get that from? The messages?
I believe where he gave us permission to do that, but he didn't say anything if he built
Yeah,
a
he
house
said
on
we
it,
could
they
go ahead and
could
do the
tear it
repair,
down.
that's what we got. But we don't own. It's too different. There's a loophole there. Nicholas didn't handle that properly, but that's the issue. But we should ask, and we will. That's where we'll go with that. Let's see. Let me go to the next thing. Let's hurry up and get, we want to have some time for questions like that. We're not, let's just try to move along here. I'll tell you the summary of the deed restriction status. Currently, we have 10 open deed restriction violations. They're from A to Z, and there's quite a few. We've had a lot of new people. You have to pay attention, keep them aware if there's something's not going just exactly right. But we've got political signs in the yard. We got a roofing sign in the yard. We got a camper in the driveway. We've got one new resident. It appears there's several families living in this home. There's cars everywhere. We're watching that one, trying to get evidence. One guy is running a car repair business and has multiple cars in the driveway all the time. We're after that one. We got another resident who doesn't have any, it's a duty to maintain, he has no landscaping. He says he's not gonna put any landscaping. And that's gonna be a problem for him, so, you know, we have to watch these things. Let's see, we've got another person who insists that he's gonna park a commercial vehicle on his property, the signs and everything, it's a big truck. He's continuing, and it's gonna get expensive if he keeps this up. It's a shame people choose to do that, because we have to spend money to, you know, defend the deed restrictions, and it's not fair. And when you buy the home in Glenberry, you accept those deed restrictions, whether you know it or not, you do. So, I mean, you gotta abide by them. They can be changed. It takes a 75% vote approval by every section to approve. That's why we don't change them. We'll get to questions later. I'm not gonna let you go. Okay, let me continue on and get this finished. Let's see, one issue is there's a large pile of debris, dirt, rocks. I don't know what's going on over there. It's been turned in as a duty to maintain issue. And the last deed restriction that's open right now, and this is one that I need to make sure you all understand. On the cart barn over there on Black Iron, that's an eyesore. We made an issue of that with the code enforcement people, and I've talked to Robin Engel, I've talked to, everybody, and I'm about ready to take this one a step further, but there's been nothing done, and we have a new code enforcement officer, and his response was, well, Mr. Thielen's planning to improve that building and turn it into a wedding venue building. And we said that, well, that's not approved, that's commercial, that won't be approved, and that's not addressing a code violation, so. Anyway, that's the summary. We'll keep you posted. We have to keep an eye on those, it's important. All right. Let me just give next couple of points here, old business, new business, and then we'll let you all ask all the questions you want. On the golf property under old business, it's interesting, we don't have any of the people here that continue to want to go back and rehash the past, but all of you all here, I think, know the history of how we got where we are on the golf property. One point on social media I wanted to just counter. Last week, there was a certain resident who continues to do this. She said that the board did not honor the vote of the people, the majority vote of the people to buy the golf course. And that's just absolutely false information. The simple majority was required at that time to approve that purchase, and 57.7% of the people in Glenmary did not vote to approve that purchase. And the other piece of that information that continues to be not mentioned, but it made that whole premise incorrect, invalid, was that the option of either buying it or developing it, the option to develop it would have required a deed restriction change that would have allowed a subdivision of that land. And having not had that approval as an option in that vote, it invalidated the vote. It was never, I mean, we got Supreme Court ruling that basically says that land won't be subdivided. So I just wanted to mention that again for anybody who knew. If you hear anybody bring that up, that's just not correct. So here, where we are currently, we've got, of course, two owners, Pargolf and Chris Thieneman. And Pargolf owns basically the back nine, and Chris Thieneman owns the clubhouse and the front nine. Pargolf is not maintaining their property at all. Residents are, and Pargolf is not objecting to residents getting on the property and maintaining it. Mr. Thieneman, on the other hand, is maintaining what he owns after we got code enforcement after him, and he realized if he was running for a public office and had open county code violations, it's going to be made public. So he thought the better of it, and he's been out there mowing the grass. He's per the code, he's in good shape except for the cart barn, and that thing's an eyesore. So Pargolf has got tax delinquency on their property sections. And there are tax liens been purchased by different entities. That's an issue. Mr. Thieneman had a public meeting back in May. We all about died of heat stroke in that meeting. It was about 100 degrees in there. But that was a required meeting to explain to us what he was planning to do with the venues got planned. But he didn't have any details, and today we still don't have any details, but he has a date scheduled with the planning commission to review that. So the only thing that HOA will defend vigorously is anything that he wants to do that's commercial, if it's a commercial operation. Now he's proposing a private club. You'll have to have a membership to use his proposed restaurant, pool, which he doesn't have in the plan yet. Pickleball, putting greens, I don't know what else, but we haven't seen the final plan, so beware of that. Be vigilant of that one. On delinquent accounts under old business, we've made some progress on that this year, and the trouble with delinquent accounts is some of them have gotten pretty high, and we've closed out a couple of them. You can get in a position on a closure, a sale closure, if you have a lien on the property, or if you have a good attorney, you can collect those. We've done this both ways. You can collect those fees at that closing, and we've taken that from what, Joe, like 50 something.
Yeah, we're down to 35,000.
We're down to 35,000. Our very worst offender is we're negotiating with right now, but you can easily spend more than the value of the delinquent account if you don't watch out with legal fees. So it continues on. Okay, let me try to just briefly give an overview of what happened on Dobson Lane. Before COVID, Ball Homes came in with a plan. They were going to put 104 homes on that long property that would connect at Blacksmith Road. And the HOA's position was, we probably can't stop this, but we thought that would be the right thing to do to force the developer, if possible, to develop Dobson Lane and route traffic, out to Milltown so you could go, either, or Brentwood, so you could go either way on that. That would help. That really was the crux of our position. And as it turned out, there was a circuit court judge that ruled against that, basically saying that the deed restrictions didn't allow us to put a fence across the public road. The truth of the matter is the developer didn't want to pay the expense to develop Dobson Lane, and therefore it's more profit for him. The planning commission wants the tax base increase, which they get, and they don't like us. We've taken them to court a few times, and our record is we're 6-0 with them. Now we're 6-1. So they won one finally, but we couldn't stop it. We did everything we could do, which I think was money well spent, even though we didn't get what we wanted. And we took that. We looked for funds, through the state, and no support. And there's, I don't know the connection, but there's somebody on Dobson Lane that's got a lot of political pull. I don't know who it is, but that should have been done. That road should have been improved.
It was this last week, it's blacktop.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Interestingly, yes, they just put a new fresh coat of asphalt on that. But did not widen it. Now, just as a break that down a little bit, they could have raised the price of the lots over there $10,000 and opened that, developed that road, brought it up to code and developed it. But no, they chose not to do that.
You might want to mention what you're going to do about blocking the city.
Oh, there is a plan which it's very strange, but
No, they can't even go out that way.
they can't use that as an egress point, but they have a plan to put a gate on that Dobson Lane entrance, and only fire and police will have the ability to open that gate, which that's a very strange plan. But that's what they went with. The next item was the Longhome Road entrance damage. Ron's already covered that, and I will tell you that was an unbelievable ordeal getting through that. Ron worked on it the most, but he and I both worked on that since June. And when you get into a situation where somebody's got a very poor insurance, what's that called? Kentucky, yeah. What's that called? Kentucky Fair Plan.
The person that hit that property, or hit that wall, had Kentucky Fair Plan insurance, which is through the state. So that's what was on the police report. Well, when you go to try and chase that down, there's not an insurance company that's Kentucky Fair Plan. You have to go to the state and find out who their insured is. And that took 2 months to find out who their insured was. And once we found that out, we made a claim, and it went through the process, and we've been told we're going to get something, but they only had $25,000 worth of coverage, and the car that this person hit is in on that claim, and they had some medical bills, so we're going to get probably somewhere between 30 and 50% of whatever that $25,000 was, and we don't know yet until the whole claim is settled, till all the medical bills are in, and the car that she hit has been sold, and that comes in. We don't know what we're going to get. We're going to get something, but we don't know exactly what that amount's going to be yet.
Okay, let's keep moving. We are running a little late on schedule. That's okay. We'll do what we have to. The last item under old business was the one that not everybody knows about. There was a young man who was walking on the golf property, turns out, at night, and he got off the cart path, and he got himself into a situation. He stepped in a hole, and I think it was an access to a water valve, and he really injured himself stepping in that hole. He really hurt himself badly. So the HOA got named in that lawsuit that was initiated from that injury, and we and our insurance company had a survey done, and we found out that was on the property that at the time was owned by Par Golf. And because we've been named, there's been a long series of court activity on that. At this point, there's a motion to take this to a summary judgment. Essentially, this person was trespassing. He was in an area he shouldn't have been in, and got himself injured, and he's wanting somebody to pay for it. It's I don't know how it's going to be ruled on, but that's basically what it is. And it's another example of the dangers that come along with owning a golf property. If it's just open space or whatever. All right. Here's the last item under old business. We got a notice back in May that the water, the lake, the body of water down to the end of the hill in Stonebreaker, got all kinds of state violations on maintenance of that, and they were naming the HOA as being the owner and responsible for all those. And I responded, "That's not ours. I'm sorry." And I've not heard anything back, but I'm sure it's still open. I don't know what was behind that. I don't know where it stands today, but it's old business now. And it's the kind of thing you got to watch out for. Let me speed along here to try. Under new business, we've already talked about some of this. New business, the golf course venue that Chris Ingman is planning. There is a hearing planned at the planning commission. Dates, it's on the calendar for some date in October. Yeah, 18th or something. And he has things mentioned on the drawing that are not in the plan that he's presented, like an amphitheater and a wedding venue he shows, and anything that's going to disturb our neighborhood or violates our deed restrictions in any way, like if it's a commercial operation, we're gonna vigorously oppose that. I think it's our duty to do that. And short of that, the only thing, county codes and deed restrictions need to be maintained in the interim. We've already talked about the budget. We have not, we've stayed solid and have not had to do any assessments, so that's under new business. Right now, we don't plan to make any changes. We're going to try to proceed with caution. Ron's already addressed the HOA insurance coverage. We are looking at that, and we found, like anything else, we got stress damage by this tornado damage. We had insurance coverage that was not as good as we thought it was, and we were paying, from the first quotes we've gotten, we're paying a little more than we should be paying for what we're getting to. So Ron's been working that, and we'll put a summary out on that and make the right decision. Let people know. We don't have any buildings. We found out we're paying for insurance for buildings. We don't have any buildings. That's just one example. And you can't get insurance from trees. You can get the tree cleanup, but damaged trees, tornadoes come through, you can't get insurance for that. One thing I wanted to mention that we considered was a management company, and we talked about it. We did some research. We found one that was actually pretty reasonable. I thought it was probably not a bad idea. We're the biggest HOA in Jefferson County that does not have a management company, and we've got the lowest dues to go along with things. And because you've got people still willing to do all this effort, and so at some point, this community is going to have to consider a management company. You just can't rely on people. This takes a lot. You get something important, somebody's got to have a closing, or somebody's got to have an approval to do a project. It's got to be done. And if we're juggling back and forth, family matters, life happens, and all that stuff, that's a real concern. And we'll go back and revisit that. But at some point, this community is going to have some version of a management company. Now, the one we had when we took over from the prior administration that made all the noise about the golf property. That is not the kind of coverage, that was a horrible agreement with that management company. They had control of all our funds, they were fleecing us, we were paying, supposed to have been about $20-some thousand. Turned out we were paying over $60,000 a year for those people. And they embezzled us for about $100,000. We got records of it. Yes. We got some insurance settlement out of that. That's just the history about why we need to be careful with that, why we need it, and why we need to be careful with that. The other thing on new business, we are, as required, looking at getting updated quotes on our landscaping landscaping and maintenance contract. So now we've already talked about the waterfall power issue. We're going to follow through. We need to go to Superior and address that. That's really why that hasn't been fixed. Besides the fact our budget's just about getting down to code red. All right. Does anyone else on the board have anything we need to bring up? We'll go to questions at this point. Okay, we're good. All right. Okay. Any of you have a specific question you want to ask? Just stand up and tell us who you are, where you live, so for the record we need to record that.
My name is Mark Campbell. And I live in the Golf Homes.
What's your last name?
Campbell.
Campbell, thank you. Yes, how can you help me, Mike?
We live in the Golf Homes and we have, I don't know what numbers are, golf course behind us, and it has been cut all summer. That area has just been wild weeds.
That's the section, Chris Thieneman on, he cut about 30 foot of it. And that's
Yeah, the answer on that is, he's complying with county code, which basically says that he has to cut there's two cases, he has to cut within 50 feet of the property boundary, bottom line.
He hasn't cut anything. We've cut half of, we've cut all the way up to the path.
Oh, okay, see, I didn't know that. You all
Yeah,
are
we
cutting.
didn't know that.
So you live in the golf homes, that's where you are. Yeah, okay, you're right up the street from me, okay. I thought he was doing it. Well, okay, here's what the
It's
code
slowed
does.
it for a while, then he stopped.
Here's an example of a crazy response you get from code enforcement. If we, residents are cutting the grass and it's not over 10 inches high, they won't do anything about it. So that's the position. And isn't that something? But that's the response we get. So you're in the same boat as everybody is on the par golf side of the course. They keep it mowed. Code enforcement won't do anything about it. But I pushed and pushed, but I'm not done. I'm gonna get
that or having grass this tall.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, if it gets to 10 inches, he has to
That's all
cut
it
it.
is.
Yeah, if it's within, if y'all let it grow up to 10 inches, which,
It's way over.
3 feet.
well, yeah, and that's beyond, it's outside of the 50 foot. You all are, I didn't know you all were paying to mow that.
We're not paying to do, we're doing it ourselves.
Well, see,
We're not paying anybody. It's
Oh, you all are-
gone over and made such a mess.
oh, I know.
We just, a few of us, not myself, a few people have taken it upon themselves to cut the grass. And we try to take care of everybody.
I understand, I'm the same way. I
For
got,
our benefit, not his.
yeah, I'm in the same exact boat, I understand.
Surprised Chris Thieneman hasn't told you to stay off his property.
Yeah, he's told me to stay off
He
his
told
property.
us.
Even the drainage ditch by me, he told me to stay out of there, and I said, well, I'll not do that, sorry about that. I'll be mowing it.
Have you and your neighbors, all of them, on a regular basis, call code enforcement and raise hell? Whether he's cut a little bit or a lot, or it's up, keep on it. Because they aren't gonna do a daggone thing until they get enough complaints.
Mike, the only way it's gonna, he's right, but you're gonna have to let it get 10 inches tall, if you wanna go that way, which is, it's sad but true. I hate that answer. but
I would call
that's
even
what
if it's
I
not 10 inches.
Yeah, if it's getting close, I'd call
Tell them there's varmints back there, tell them there's snakes are coming around, tell them anything.
What do we have?
Because it's the only way you're gonna get anything from them.
But Bob, if they're cutting 30 feet in on his property, code enforcement won't do anything.
That's right, that's exactly right.
Don't come out
If they cut 4 and they won't.
Until it's 10 inches tall, they're not gonna do anything.
Then
So
we
it's
live
not
with
grass.
all the varmints and everything else.
Yeah, they don't.
Still raise, still call.
I would absolutely wear the code enforcement out, just wear them out.
So
So we need to talk to our neighbors and tell them to stop cutting it.
Yes.
So
That's the only way you can combat that. I mean, I spend a lot of time trying to get a different answer, and that's the answer, that's all you're gonna
Call
get.
code enforcement every day, wear them out. Call Robin Engel's office and wear him out too.
That's true too.
That's exactly what you need to call it,
That's
because the code enforcement, they're trying to blow me off on theming in the cart barn, that cart barn is.
Yeah, Engel is a good way to go.
So please do that, I hear you. Okay, who else has got questions? Sure we've got big questions here. Sure.
Pam Kidd, we live at 10407 Newland Farm Drive. So I think we back up to 04, 4 or 5.
I think it's 5.
We've only been here years, this is all new to us. And we thought Union had a pending contract on that HOA, but are you saying he now owns it?
But in May, he did not claim that he owned it. As in the May meeting, when he talked,
Whole
he
five.
asked him specifically, and he said he didn't own it at that time.
I said, yeah, five is the one that runs.
About me.
Yeah,
Yes.
on Mike there, okay, yeah. Yeah, he owns that.
He
doesn't
said he
he?
didn't own it, but
In May, he said.
all the plots and stuff.
No, well, the record shows that he owns it now.
Okay, so we are still.
We're still mowing it
We're
all,
still,
too.
yeah, our group is still mowing all of that too.
Same answer.
Okay.
Same, yeah, it's,
Gang up and tell them to stop mowing it and let it get tenants to stop.
well, and the bad part is, I mean, I'll tell you what I did. I mean, you know, Tom knows me real well. I'm analytical. I get all wound around the axle. But I went out and made sure I had a record. We didn't have a record. I need to know everybody that lived in a house that adjoined the golf property. So I got that record, and then I found out if it was park golf or if it was theming. Even the homes over there across from you guys on the other side, and I gave all those to code enforcement, and we had this discussion, and he said, well, you got a decision to make. The park golf owned property, you know, if you have us enforce it, you're gonna have to let it grow up 10 inches, and then you're going to be they're going to be forced to mow it 50 feet from the property boundary. Then it's going to be grown up in the center because the code doesn't require it to be cut. And I pondered that personally, I'd rather cut the damn grass than let that happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. I don't like either one of those options, but that's where we are. We don't own the land, and so you know that's
Can I have a second? I have a
sure,
follow-up
fire away.
Because we are relatively new, and we have heard all the rumors. We really don't know what happened when you said there was a 57% vote against that contract. Can you give us some history there so we can better understand what that was about?
Well, it would take a long time.
There's a lot of history.
We've actually laughed about it. It would make a pretty good B movie. The history, essentially, there was a group. There was a group on the board at the time that threw took some actions that they should never have taken. They were dastardly. They were underhanded, but they essentially, and believe me, I'll sit down sometime with you and give you honestly, to give you the short version, it's taking half an hour. But the answer is that they put together a contract to buy and signed it, and with and residents, they put a vote out there to buy, and it had a $2.15 million price, and the second part of that was there were 3 lots included in that plan, which were put in place to be the first step toward development. So one way or the other, there was going to be some money start to flow. Well, the residents got wind of this and elected a new board at the very next election, which I was one of those people. Like, all right, we got an appraisal on the value of that land at the time. It was at $1.1 million, not 2.15. The vote was not did not support the option to buy, and then the alternate plan, which was to or phase development. There was no or phase development because there wasn't an allowance of that for the deed restrictions. We got a Supreme Court decision that says that. So that battle is going to come back up on the table again. Beware, Christine is here to develop that golf property.
That brings up my last
Yeah.
question is, I I assume that this board is very firmly opposed to the fairways and stuff being developed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if this community doesn't, you know, I mean, the opposite way of looking at it is for a cheap price, a reasonable price, we ought to own the damn property. You know, everybody would understand that. But if you know, it's that, you know, for $2.15 million, or let us build houses. You can't build houses, so you're not negotiating that with me. So that's what they try to do. So that's kind of where we are. We're still stuck there. Thieneman still intends to, he's looking for any opportunity. And I think he understands that we have a, you know, a firm position. But he also thinks he can come up with a plan where he can make us some kind of an offer that we might accept. And once there's any acceptance of any development allowed, it's like a, you know, a waterfall. It's going to just happen.
Here's the thing, the deed restrictions require for any development on that property. I mean, if he wants to build onto the clubhouse, he's got to get 75% of each section of Glenmary to agree to it. That's the deed restrictions, and the Supreme Court has upheld that. So, I don't know why he's being such a jerk, idiot, whatever. He ought to be romancing us if he wants us to vote for him, but he showed his hand and...
Well, he clearly sees the value of the development. I mean, there's huge money there if we allowed that, but, you know, I'll tell you, there's, the hard truth is there's 860 some land contracts out there under these deed restrictions. If we all want to roll over and play dead and let him do what he wants to do, you know, our property values are going to suffer from it. You know, and some of us, all of us that have joined the golf property, I mean, you know, Tom Jones, I know you do, I do. I pay premium, a big premium to have a, you know, piece of property that joined the golf course under the understanding that that land would never be developed no matter what. I had that discussion with the developer. So, you know, I'm not budging, and I don't know why anybody else would either.
There's also two issues here. One is the rest of the golf course, and the other one is the clubhouse.
Right.
Now, he thinks he's gonna be able to do anything he wants in that clubhouse. And that planning and zoning board is gonna let him do a lot. Now, what we have to worry about is this is a residential neighborhood. It's not a commercial area, and it's not a golf course anymore. So he can't come in and say, well, this is a golf course, we get to do this, this, and this. It's not a golf course anymore. It's a residential neighborhood.
If you look
and we've got to be careful to make sure that he isn't putting out bands all hours of the night. He's not putting traffic all over our roads.
Right.
He's not making noise and disturbing our residential neighborhoods. And that's what you got to watch out for him, because he's going to push the ballot every chance he gets. And he thinks he'd get away with it.
One point that we need to say about once a year is what's different about this development and this golf course as compared to a lot of other communities is that golf course is an integral part of this community. It's under the Section 1 Master Deed restrictions, and that makes all the difference. And that's why we've got 6 court victories, you know, and standing here today saying there's no development going to be allowed. So that's the difference. And people show us examples where, well, you know, they gave up finally and let it be developed. We can all vote and decide we want to do that, but, you know.
It's a vote.
It's going to have to be a vote. I mean, none of us should allow that to happen, you know, without taking it to a vote. I mean, there's different opinions in the community, and of course, the community is operated by a majority vote. That's the way it works. It's our governing docs. That's what it says. So, just beware. Don't be uninformed on this one.
You got a hand up.
Okay. Yeah.
Phil Miller.
Yeah, Phil.
Reference to what Ron had to say. You said 75% of all sections.
Yes.
So as I understand it, any one section can do that 75%, everything's all right.
That's it.
That is
That's
correct.
passed.
And so by virtue of that, it has to be at least 75% of each section, and then that has to be 75% of the whole.
That's correct.
Correct. Hey, Mike, you're pretty good at math. Now, you do 0.75 times 0.75 times 0.75. Do that 19 times and tell me what the number is.
He was correct.
I mean, mathematically, that's ridiculous. That'll never happen, ever.
And this has been, you know, most people don't know all these details, and the only reason we know is because we've been in it for how many years now? But anyway, when you look at the deed restrictions, that's a land contract. And anybody that violates that's subject to, court, you can take them to court, which is what we did with Par Golf because they were trying to develop without the approval of the residents. And they, the previous board back then tried to do a sham vote where they said it was a majority. It wasn't. If you read your deed restrictions, it says 75%. And there's 19 different sections that make up Glenberry. So it takes all 75% of each section to vote to approve something on a change like that. And
There's no way that the board or anybody else can.
the board can't circumvent that. I can't say, this board cannot vote to allow them to develop any portion of that golf course
Without the vote.
without the vote. Now, we can say we approve, the 7 board members can say that we approve to take it to a vote, but we don't have the authority under the deed restrictions and the bylaws to, these 7 people say we're gonna develop section 1, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And the Supreme Court has backed that up.
And the Supreme Court has backed that up, of Kentucky. And we won that, and that was the whole reason for that fight, is they were trying to develop that land, and it was their intention to develop it from the beginning, even though they said it wasn't. It was, that's the reason they bought it. And they operated as a golf course for a few years, and kept saying they were always losing money. Well, that was just a ploy to be able to say, hey, we can't make it, we want to develop it. And we said, send us a plan. We never got any plans of what development they wanted. We were always open to let them develop any portion, but it's got to go to a vote. We got to have a plan that we can submit to residents and say, here's what they want to do, what do you want to do? And that's never been given to us.
Phil, one of the points in that decision that we got out of the Supreme Court, which I didn't totally like the wording that they used, but this kind of back the intent. They ordered the planning commission to basically to dissolve those 3 lots that had been created by Pargolf, and that's the meat of the matter. I mean, it basically supported that it can't be subdivided. So it's correct.
In its entirety or individually.
Any section.
It can't be subdivided unless the residents of Glenberry approve to let it happen. That's the way the deed restrictions are written. It's a land contract, and the courts have backed it up. And that was a huge victory for us. Because if we had just rolled over and let them do what they want, we'd have no deed restrictions. They wouldn't be worth the dime, the paper they're printed on.
Hey, Phil, one other point is interesting. Doug McKinnon and I were in a meeting with Don Cox and the Purcells, Marty Purcell, Maria Purcell, and Chris Purcell. And they admitted to us, because I asked, was development of this property always considered an alternative? And they said yes. Now, I'd never heard that, and they never admitted it, and that was in private, but Doug heard it, and Don Cox has got it on record. So, just in case anybody tries to sell you on the point that we wouldn't support it as a golf community, that's BS. And the other thing I'll tell you, I've got records, I got their tax, their tax statements for the last 2 years they operated. They pulled in over $1 million, and they said they weren't making any money. And they made the year that they kept it under, no, the second year it was just under $1 million. They made a $50-some thousand donation to a charity. I mean, that's just an example. Oh, I'm sorry, got another question. Yeah, sorry.
Scott Michelle was on Wood Twist.
Yeah, Scott.
Would Dobson Lane development be required to follow the restrictions or
No.
the process?
No.
Even though they connect to the neighborhood?
No.
Correct. No.
It's not part of our land, not part of.
Well, now everything's negotiable, right? we could approach Ball Homes. Ball Homes sold their development as they were going to be not affecting negatively our property values. And you've seen the sales prices of streets on Kendrick Crossing, homes on Kendrick Crossing. Ball Homes doesn't build, $675,000 or $1 million houses. They don't. That's BS. But now we could go back to them and say, you reconsider, now that you're connecting to our streets, you reconsider, we could annex you all and you build to our restrictions. That would be a move we could make.
So what's the process to do that? Is that a motion or?
This board would have to make a motion to do it and just ask them. It doesn't cost anything
What's
to
that
ask.
motion be made?
Yeah, we could do that. They can easily reject this, but it doesn't cost anything to ask.
There's no way.
It's just like that decision, question about the water feature, same thing. Now,
Like cardboard box.
I don't know enough about their lot size to know if it would, if our lot requirements meet theirs, so their layout would stay the same, or if that's a good question, or a good thought. You think that's, the board should vote on that, and ask them. I don't think it's a bad idea. We haven't done
Get
that.
an attorney's opinion.
Yeah, we could,
Could I get your name again for the?
Scott Evans.
Scott Evans, okay.
yeah. You're on, which was, is that what you said? Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Does Ball Homes actually have that, or they have the right from Superior Builders?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I see a question. The property today is owned by Brian Wacker, Superior Builders. And Ball Homes had an option. I found this out after some digging. See, this whole thing was a big dust up to see what they could get by with. And it sweetened the deal when they didn't have to develop Dobson Lane. So, yeah, we'd have to find out who actually
Yeah.
owns it, but we can approach that.
Superior Builders builds a much nicer home.
Oh, yeah, Superior's building on those 14 lots. We'd be okay with that. Okay, two points to discuss with Mr. Wacker. And maybe it's already too late. Maybe it is Ball Homes. I don't know. But, all right. That's a good one. We have a question over here. Yes.
I'm Al Hinton, and talking about Ball Homes.
Yes.
He does build multi-million-dollar homes, but he lives in Lexington. I've been on his farm. He's got a horse farm.
What about,
And we came from Adam Run, which was a nice subdivision start. We're all over it, Ball Homes. Well, the developer, they wasn't moving fast enough. They had about 3 builders. So he sold Ball Homes in the back end, and you can go through Adam Run and see what he built.
right.
You know, they don't compare to what was up front.
Exactly. I know what you're talking about.
And another thing, if the state, can operate that road, on that through there, why can't they do the snow road when we don't have paperwork? Something wrong there.
They don't do so.
Yeah, the answer on that snow removal is subdivisions are a very low priority on snow removal. They really are. You go checking it out around the county, they don't hardly do snow removal unless it's impassable.
Unless one of the people on the elected officials or somebody on the highway department lives on that road, then they'll get cleared.
And another thing, who gives these new people coming in the deed restriction? How do they get them?
They don't. Well,
How do they get the deed restriction?
you should get them at closing.
Get them from there.
Closing attorney.
They're all online.
Yeah, they're always online. Any of us can read them anytime you want to, but they're online. And it's, the closing attorney is supposed to point out to the buyer that you are a member of an HOA, and here's the website, and here's.
It's actually a responsibility of a realtor to let them know that it's a deed restricted community and provide them with the deed restrictions. If not, that realtor
Or provide them the
can get in
website.
trouble for that.
It's just, well, we get some people in here they're not gonna go on with it.
Oh, they will eventually,
Oh, yeah, they will. If they're gonna litter, they're gonna follow the deed restrictions.
or they're going to court.
They may not like it, how they get there, learning how to follow them, but they're gonna follow them. Yeah, I know where you are. They're going to, believe me, they are.
I hope so.
Yeah, we need, in that case, I know what you're talking about, we need pictures and videos. A lot of them, because we're gonna, it's gonna take more than just a letter.
Never easy.
But there, yeah, that's a good one. You've got one of the,
They let garbage pile up for 1 month.
I've given them a notice, and I'm gonna ride by there tomorrow, and if it's still there, they're gonna get the first fine. It's gonna get real expensive, they're gonna have a lien, and then they're gonna get,
When they have some kind of meeting, they fill that whole street up.
keep the pictures, we need pictures. I have it, but they're not gonna get by with that, believe me. Okay, somebody else had a question, who was it? Oh, yeah, this guy.
Yes, sir. My name is Dennis Ware, I live at 10530 Black Iron Road, and I've been a resident preliminary for 2, going on 3 years now, which I'm proud to say, so I'm here to support the community as well as
Yeah.
the board. And I received a notification from you guys about my commercial vehicle. I'm a contractor and I have a small business. One truck that has been in my driveway has been there for the past 2 years, going on 3. So I've never received a complaint when I purchased a home. The agent said, he assured me I wouldn't have a problem. So I've never received any type of complaint for 2.5 years until last month.
Is it does it have commercial markings on it? Is it signage?
Yes, it does have.
Yeah, you're not gonna be allowed to do that. It doesn't matter what anybody told you, it doesn't matter.
I understand that. I've gone as far as planting trees down both sides for the neighbors so they don't have to see it. It's not a junky truck.
I understand.
It's a professional company, and the truck is professional. So I just wanted to let you guys know who I am, and that I'm not a repeat offender. I'm not here to run
Sure.
a community or anything like that.
Can you park the truck in the garage?
Yeah, if you put it in the garage, it's good.
Yeah, I've been parking it around back and parking it so that the front of the truck shows from the driveway, so if you walk by the house, you don't see the lettering, you don't see anything like that, just the front of the truck.
The choices are you can park in your garage, or you can take the lettering off if it's that kind of magnetic signs, we have people do
It's
that.
not.
Or you don't park it on the property. It's the 3 choices.
Right.
And no mistake.
So for the past month since I received your letter, so I'm looking for an office building or to expand the company in order to have the truck relocated somewhere else.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
as you well know, commercial property is hard to find.
Right.
Office building and whatnot. So I don't know if there's a waiver or something that can be filed with you guys as far as flexibility, as far as enough time to find an office building or whatever that is. Because honestly, I don't want to continue to receive letters and complaints like I'm a repeat offender and I'm just not abiding by the restrictions.
Yeah, what are you thinking? Is it, it might be a week or 2 or a month, or what are you saying?
Oh, I'm saying it's going to be more than a month. I've been looking for 2 to 3 months for an office building. There's no office properties available in Front Creek area. So, and the truck is fully loaded. It does have the tools.
Yeah, I understand. You got to protect it. You got to like that's your business. I get that.
Plus, at the same time, I do remodeling projects on the house that I purchased on my.
Right.
So it is handy to have the tools and equipment right there instead of running 10 miles up the road, get the truck, come back, work on the house, and take the truck back to the business. So it is a convenience. So I'm just letting you know that. Park the truck back.
Is there any way to park it in the garage?
No, it won't fit inside the garage, but I do have a pad behind the house, and I park it behind the house, off next to the deck, so you can't even see it at all.
The only thing is, if we get complaints on it, it's a violation of the deed restrictions. We don't have a choice, and that's probably what happened is, I don't know the case specifically.
Months ago, out of 3 years, it's just now.
Somebody probably
Somebody
complained on it.
complained, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Because, I mean, it's, we don't, we can't, we look for everything obvious we see, we work with it, and otherwise people turn in complaints, violations, and we.
I'll take the $50 fine, by the way, so you should have got the check.
Invite your neighbors to a picnic.
Well, the answer is, you know, we can be a little bit lenient, but a little bit lenient, I'd say more than 30 days, it's a problem. It's gotta go. And I understand, I understand completely, but I tell you what, actually, one of the ladies who ran for office last time had the same exact issue. And she had, you know, the hardest time accepting it, but she finally did. And we don't allow it. I mean, it's just in the deed restrictions. I mean, you know, we're not trying to single anybody out. You get that. It's not personal.
And you might do it right, but the next three may not do it right, and then we got big problems.
Yeah, we've got to support the deed restrictions. That's all. So.
Which leads me to my next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to come tonight to get familiar with the process of all this.
Yeah.
To get a better understanding. So my plan B is to basically have the back of the garage or store hit, expand the height of it so that I can park there.
See, that's okay. Yeah.
So.
What do you need, another panel or two to get your truck in?
Basically it would entail taking the framing out and the overhead door, cutting some of the brick out, and dropping the header in there to increase the
And
height.
a panel in the door.
Yeah, so is there paperwork or something I need to fill out for you guys to approve that?
Just an architectural request. That's an
Architectural
issue.
request.
Yeah, we won't.
There's a form on the website, download it, send us your plans. You know, the board will look at it, and they'll say yes or no, or we'll get back and make recommendations. But for something like that, I don't see why, you know, for some ungodly reason, we wouldn't approve it, unless it's just ugly and didn't match the neighborhood. But if you're just raising the door panels, making your door higher so the truck fits in there, that's a solution.
Okay, so what I had it done, with that, help the situation as far as relocating my office.
Say that again, I didn't
The
understand.
question was, is it feasible if I have it done by the end of November? So then by November, I should be parking in the garage.
Yeah, if you had it done by November,
Okay.
sent in and completed by November, you know, the board could probably, I mean.
Board will have to approve it.
We'll have to make an exception, and we never have, but in this case, it sounds, you've got the right, you know what to do.
If somebody's working with us to try and solve the problem, we're gonna try and work with you. It's the ones that just ignore us and just keep doing the same thing over and
Yeah,
over.
that's what I wanted to tell you. I think it's one here that
Yeah.
You know, sounds like if you've got a solution and that'll work, and you can park it in the garage, there's not an issue with it in the garage. That's what the deed restrictions require.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, send us a note on the website, just that's your plan, so we got a record.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right, good, well, that was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Somebody else has any, yeah, Peggy.
Can I please ask if you want people to attend this meeting with David? I sent a message into the caseworker on his plans and told him I did not believe a word the man was saying, and I did not think that he intended to do what he said. And I also told him it was a residential community, we didn't need an amphitheater, and where is he going to get his volleyball players for his tennis or whatever it is, volleyball, his sand volleyball court? Do you think it's helpful to have people come to the meeting, the hearing?
Absolutely.
Yes,
We've been
absolutely.
before, and I just felt like they just rubber stamped everything.
Well, they're going to.
That's what they always do.
They always do.
So does it do any good to have a bunch of people there? We can get them there. We just-
I think a bunch of people makes a big difference because they don't like HOAs. We go in there and go, oh, forget it. He's gonna get that volleyball in there and all of a sudden he's gonna have volleyball tournaments.
Well, sure.
And then he's gonna have traffic all over everything.
And a band.
And a band. We haven't heard any noise restrictions. We don't know about lights. We haven't done any details.
See, that's the whole thing with Christina, when this first started, he came to me and said, hey, here's, because I was in charge of architectural, what do we need to do? We want to develop the clubhouse. I said, everybody'd be great to see the clubhouse come back. I said, but what we need from the board is we need to see your detailed plans, your business plan, everything that you're going to do, and I need detailed plans of what you actually want to do, and the board can decide what the board can approve, what has to be approved by the board, what doesn't have to be approved by the board, and then what has to be approved by residents. We didn't care one way or the other what he wants to do. If he just gave us the plans, we had decided what had to go where, and if it required a vote of the residents to approve something, we would have taken it to residents to approve it. We got a picture, and that's all we've ever seen is a picture with no details. And, you know, I'm hoping we see something at Planning and Zoning Commission, but we've not seen those plans either. So, until I see some plans, I don't know what the man's wanting to do. I know what he's told me, but I don't believe anything out of his mouth. So.
Well, so far, all we've done is we've attended, I think, 3 different sessions with Christine to try to find out what his plan is. And, you know, one of them was one of the public meetings we had right here, and one of our residents got all excited and, you know, was telling us that it was our job to tell him what the plan was. And, you know, that wasn't anywhere near what we needed, but to date, we don't have a plan, we have a picture. And I don't know what they're gonna take to the planning commission, but what we've done is got, it's a shame we have to do this again, we've got our attorney on notice to be there in attendance and have him, you know, prepared to challenge anything that would violate our interests. So that's all, and as many residents as can attend, I'm sure, we need to get some communication going on that when, you know, when that starts to show up on the picture. Any more questions? We kind of went over a little bit past 7:30.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you all for attending. It really is good to have.
Who seconded?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, the meeting's over, yeah. Oh, sure. What do you got? Send us a picture. We got a picture. Can you send us something so we got a record on the Oh, you ever been on his property? Then